Greetings, and divine blessings. Greetings, and divine blessings. Coming in early in the morning, yes we is. Coming in early in the morning, yes we is. All right. So we're not going to take too long. These lives are really being done for a recording and allowing those who are studying in the degrees just to give them a little edge, a little help, and inspire them to do their reading. Remember, read is to re-add. Life is mathematics. Islam, which is your peace, is mathematics. So at one point in time, we didn't add up everything right. So our sum was a little off. So now we're trying to re-add, read, so that we can actually apply the formulas correct. This is a Black Messiah's second degree. Last week we did the first degree. We read through the first degree. Today we will try to read through the second degree and then enter into a little bit of temple building to give you a little bit of taste of the temple building. Now understand that you have 7 degrees, which is your question degrees. But then you have temple building, and you have temple building 1 through 4, and you have temple building 5 through 8, and then you have temple building 9. That's the born process. Black Messiah's second degree, temple building, symbols, question and answers. Question number 1: why in our story? As remember the first degree we went through, the first degree, which was our story. We broke down the parallels of our history, and we broke down that there were 2 falls in the concept of how people have written it in religion and in scripture. The first is not really actually a fall, but it is actually spiritual beings becoming physical in form. That's the first stage. Second stage is man became male and female. Remember, we went from etheric to androgynous, which was neither male nor female, to male or female. And then in the process of male and female, balancing, dealing with our balance, we cause a disbalance on the planet in this plane. And that disbalance caused natural destructions to occur that had caused the next fall, which created the lower fallen beings, the mutant. So understanding or overstanding our history is a key in this component. So we're going to go back into the science of that, and we're going to take another degree step into this multiplicity of understanding the multiple ways that we have been confused by trying to make all these different concepts of falls one fall. And one of them, spirit coming into matter, is not really a fall. But we'll get to that in the degrees. Let us begin. Why in our story was it never explained why they told us the serpent in the Garden of Eden tempted Eve and caused the fall? So in our story, we deal with the true history. So we don't deal with the serpent tricking man and Eve. Okay, but let's go a little deeper into this serpent story. Answer: because this degree of an answer would not be clear until our story was given or remembered. For the serpent, Sutton, Satan, in two forms, the biblical and Quranic, it is a key to there never was a time when man was not. Now that's a very deep statement. That's a very deep statement. For the serpent, who you call Satan, is the key in two fall stories. One, the serpent causes Adam and Eve to fall. And in the second story, Satan, Nekas, the serpent, or Iblis, refused to bow to Adam and caused the fall of the angels. So those is two different forms of falls. And you have to really understand that, we always got a statement. We say the hunter's story is what is told, or he who wins the war tells the story. And in that story, they will always make the other side the bad side. So you have to understand that as you do your studies. I'm not saying nothing now. I want you in your own mind and your own being to come to an understanding of this. I've done a build for the last 3 months on Dambala. And I broke down that there was a priesthood and that cosmology, that an ancient cultural way of life fell and another one came in place. And in that process, those people who were called Nagas, the serpents, the Uraeus, the keepers of the measurements, they were attacked and brought down. And then the so-called theology was changed, and it was written to make them the evil ones. So we're talking about a people who originally maintained their original divine nature and those who had fallen from it. So it's going to get a lot more clear. Next stage, next question. Number 2. How is the serpent the key to there never was a time when man was not? Answer. Please study first this symbol and its meaning. On the side, you see the symbol of the box, which is a square, and a triangle, looking like a house, which represents you or the house of God, or you say the house of Israel, Israel. You are the 7 bodies. And the 7 bodies was represented in our time as the Elohims, the 7 angels, Raphael, Gabriel, Uriel. So the 7 has also numerous meanings. So in the house of God, or this triangle in the square, spirit, a soul, a mind, an emotional body, an astral body, life force, and a physical body. And for each one of these spiritual components of your being, there is a material component placed on side of it, showing that spirit, active in the material realm, would represent the neutron, which is neutral. Soul, reflective as above, so below, in the material realm would represent the prototype of your being. Your soul is the prototype of your being, so it is the proton. And then you have the mind. The mind has the ability to elect, to choose. So the mind is the elector or the electron. Remember now, tron is throne. And you have to understand that as we go further in the science, because these things are very important, is you look at the triangle where you see spirit, soul, and mind. You see neutron, proton, and electron. This is your higher. This is a masculine energy. This is atom, Atom. So we have here Adam, the masculine energy. In your way of praying, you say, Our Father who art in heaven. Well, this is your heaven. And this is the masculine energy, the spiritual energy. This is the Father energy. Then you come down and you have your emotional body, astral body, your life force, and your physical body. This represents matter. But emotions are up and down. So emotions are wavy, water. Emotions, water. Your astral is light. It's floating. It's the dream body. It's when you're standing up and all of a sudden you start to daydream and you feel yourself drifting away and somebody say, hey, and they'd be like, and you'd be like, ooh, yeah, I was about to take off. And they'd be like, yeah, come on back. We right here. You went to start ascending into the air, into the astral body. So the astral body represents air. Your emotional nature is like water. So what does water do? It falls to the ground, to the earth. So your emotions can pull you to an earthly state of being, an earthly state of mind. So this is science now. Then you have what is called life force. Your life force is fire. Well, life force represents your breath and your blood. Your breath and your blood, that's your life force. So it's the fire, the candle. You don't want nobody to blow all the blood out your body or blow the breath out of you, because that would out your candle, out your fire. Then you have your physical body, which is your earth. So water, air, fire, earth represents matter. Matter is feminine. Matter is the Latin diction of mother. So Eve was called the mother of all living things. So Eve represents matter. Adam represents atom. So let us please study first this symbol and its meaning. This symbol is the atom equaling energy that created, which is spirit manifesting into matter. Now, the thing you have to do in your mental is you have to understand that when we say spirit manifesting into matter, that means that the physical world that you live in is really a spiritual world. Atom is energy that can neither be destroyed nor created. So that means the energy that makes up your world is eternal. It's always been here. There never was a time when man was not. But why don't you feel your eternal self? Why can't you talk from the eternal essence of how long you've been here? So this is just something to get to the science, just getting your mind there. For when an atom, we know when an atom is slowed down, or as the book or the scriptures like to say, Adam was put into a deep sleep, and drawn out of him was matter, or Eve, which matter is the mother, or as the Bible said, rib, which was rab, R-A-B, like you say rabbi. So rab was the 22, which is master teacher. For in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, this is important, these numbers. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. 1 plus 2 plus 6 equals 9. So Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 represents a born process. A born process for those who understand their supreme mathematics. It says, let us, equaling Elohim. But Elohim is a, in fact, the people who wanted to teach you Bible and tried to interpret scripture had a problem with this because, the scripture says Eloh, Eloh, Elohe, that's singular for God, or El or Al is singular. But when you have the Elohim, it is a plural form of God. Oh, well, how could God be plural? Why would it be a plural form? That means it's more than one God. So maybe this is saying something that we don't get. So what happens is in the ancient times, it was understood that Elohim, the Elohims was plural, had signified in the Latin diction, Raphael, Gabriel, the seven archangels. Listen to the word archangels. So these were the seven archangels, the archetypes, the seven. So these were the seven angels. And these seven angels were actually mentioned in another spot in Genesis. And it says, God sent forth seven spirits into all of creation. So all of creation got seven spirits, seven angels, seven frequencies, seven vibrations. Well, is this true or is this some religious diction? Is it real? Is what does it mean? So when we study the seven, seven always has a way of finding itself into everything. But one of the things about the seven was when we learned about light, we learned that light has seven spectrums of light. And a lot of you are learning now about seven chakras, your seven energy, your seven frequencies. So you're learning that there is a science to this seven. And you are going to learn a lot more to the science of the seven. Even in your DNA, the X is a 4 and the Y is a 3-pointed letter. 4 and 3 is 7. So as we look at this triangle and this square and we're looking at this symbolism and we're seeing that the atom representing 3 and matter representing 4, but together they're the 7. So all of creation is 7. So when you see the Moors put they 7 up, throw they 2, when they put their hands up, a lot of brothers say, well, when you see the circle 7 Quran, why has they put this there? So 7 days of creation, even a musical, the gamut is a word comes from Kamut, which goes back to Osiris, which is the 7 musical notes. So there is a lot to this because this is the vibrational frequency. Okay, so let me go a little further into this question and answer. It says, let the Neteru's forces in nature. Remember, our ancestors said you call it gods. To study the word properly, it was Neter or the Neteru, which represented forces in nature. So, which are the 7 bodies of man? These are your 7 forces in nature. Now, in ancient times, the Greek changed gods. Remember, the book says, and I'm quoting from the Bible, God sent forth 7 spirits into all of creation. All right. And then we get to Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, and it says, let us create man in our image and our likeness. Elohim, which represented the 7. So since the Elohim represented the seven, the Elohim representing the seven took us right back into this seven. And we said, well, some people say it's the seven is the seven angels. But when you went to church, they told you when it says, let us create man in the image, the pastor would tell you that represents God and Christ. Christ was present then because they really couldn't explain that because they didn't deal with the polarity of the word Elohim. But when you study it, it says God sent forth seven spirits into all of creation. And then we go and we say, well, it's talking about the seven angels. But it actually wasn't even the word angels then. So we say angels, which is angelos or angelos. But actually in the older scriptures, when it goes back into the Latin, going back into the Hebraic, it was actually theos. Coming down into the Greek, it came out to be theos. So we know that theos is theology, the study of God. So the original thing was the seven gods sent forth into all creation. Or let us, or the seven angels would have been the seven gods, the seven spirits of God. So the seven spirits of God represent the seven gods, the seven frequencies, the seven netarus, the seven forces of angels, the seven forces of nature. Okay? Even in the Tahuti, the Hermetic order, Tahuti says that he who understands the seven, he can open all the keys, all the locks, all the doors to the temple. So this is what we're doing. We're unlocking the temple. So now in ancient times, the Greek changed gods to angels. So the gods fell balance. Remember. Remember, this whole thing is about remembering. Osiris was chopped up in multiple pieces. You had to remember the back together. Come back, remember, bring back the balance. But you have to understand the disbalance that was caused by the meteorite shower. So when we talk about the measurements of a man is the measurements of an angel, which is 144 cubits. This is Revelations 21 verse 17. 144 actually is Aleph, Daleth, Mem, which represent Adam. So Adam in Hebrew is Aleph, Daleth, Mem. So Aleph, Daleth, Mem, air. Daleth is the door, Mem is the water. We're going to come back and figure that out now. Because when you start doing the alchemical science and the beginnings of creation and understanding that water and that air and that water, that steam, that air and that water, so that Daleth, that doorway, that heart, turns out to be fire. It's fire. Daleth is number 4. Daleth is the doorway. It is the fire. So we're understanding that we're opening a doorway. But see, now you say Adam was the beginning, was mine. Okay, so let's get to this. So Iblis, the fire, the pyra, the kundalini, / balance is measurements, its energy, its atum. And this caused the fall of the gods and the. You got to understand when the Quran says that one of the angels would not bow, Iblis representing fire, but Iblis became your Satan, so he would not bow. Adam. But if Adam is Atom, which is the energy, you got to understand the metaphysics of what's being said because now they're dealing with the personal inner war. And this causes the fall of the angels, of the gods. So I'll sing a song. We fall down, but we get up, and man falls 7 times. So there's a fall from out of a spiritual frequency down to just a physical frequency. How does this happen? Okay, so this is understanding and or gaining knowledge of how this happens. Okay, it's energy, atom, or the Adam, But let me go up here. So Iblis, the fire, the Kundalini serpent, would not bow, balance its measurements, its energy, the atom, and this causes the fall of the gods, of the angels. Remember the seven mental rules. So the Pyra, the light bearer, the Lucifer, the Satan, fell to operating in a lower nature. I saw an angel fall to earth. 144 equals 9, born. If 9 is lost, the born process has been aborted. So now I know this is confusing. This is the degrees for some of you. This is the degrees. This is a question and answer, and it's encoded. Meaning when you go through temple building, you will understand every one of these sentences as they're stating in symbolic language what is being converted here. So this is to teach the mind to read in dimensions and into decoding and understanding. So if you don't have a knowledge of what these words symbolically mean, you're reading it in what we call a flat line. Now remember, we have to teach that we don't deal with flatline. So if we dealt with flatline, that means when we read Genesis, we would just see Adam and Eve as a man and a woman in the past. Now, if Adam and Eve is a man and a woman in the past, what can we do about it today? The serpent tricked them. They're a man and a woman in the past. There's nothing, we can't undo that. Nobody can undo that. So that means it's a dead story, or what you call a dead letter. So if something is flatline, it's dead. If it's dead, you can't do nothing with it. So our ancestors never dealt with the dead letter. They dealt with words and dimensions. So when I say that, meaning that when we look at Adam, we don't see a man. We see atum. So this word has dimension. It becomes a building block. And if it's a building block, we can use it in it's something that even though you say it's old and it was written in, we can use it today to build from. So if Adam represents Atum and Eve represents matter, now we're dealing with science of life, and we can build from that. We're not dealing with a dead letter. We're dealing with the science of life, and that's totally different. So this is why when you go through the temple building, there's a lot of repetition. It's a lot of repetition, and it keeps coming back. And every time you go to the next degree, it'll take you a little further out in that word a little bit more. And you go to the next degree, it takes you a little further out in that word a little. And then when you go through temple building, through the one, you start off at a basic degree where it's defining things on basic level. By the time you get to 9, you're understanding these words from the metaphysical, the astrological. You're understanding this word in so many components. So that's why we're talking about science. Because now, when this becomes the science of life, our children then, their minds, see, they won't look at the flat line, dead letter of school no more. It'll be they are going there to be able to master their science. So it's teaching and learning this science as a mentality of your being, as the essence of your being. Not just something you learn to repeat, but taking on as your being. So you can become the light bearer, because I saw the mental of your being fall from spirit to where you view yourself only in the physical. So you have fallen 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if we count up from the physical, 1, 2, 3, just remember that number 5 is the number for mind. All right, let's go to the next question. We'll keep moving forward in the second degree of Black Messiahs. Number 3. So are you saying we are fallen angels / gods? Answer: yes. There are 3 different types of things that can be called falls. So there are 3 different mothers. First, The manifesting of the original being was not a fall, but a birth out of none, the primordial waters, the abyss. We are Abyssinians, remember? Now, ones that did not keep the way got caught in a meteorite shower. They lost their measurements and fell from grace, from heaven. Now, after these fallen ones had mutated and then began coming out of the caves, making their fallen mentality, their fallen nature, the ruling psyche of this plane, this caused many of the keepers of the way to fall from their measuring. So that's the third fall. So we have to understand how our ancestors wrote these time periods in symbolical ways and how it is the falls. Meaning the temple, the seven, you, the temple, the body, the science of you, the keeper of the holy creative force on this plane, was torn down. Can rebuild it. For, unalike, remember that now. Those who understand the science and been through many different studies, they know why we put that word there. For unlike them, we still carry the measure equaling the 144. It's the 144. Well, we read it up here earlier. The measurements of a man is the measure of an angel, 144 cubits. But it also is the measure of the wall of New Jerusalem. So you have to study what that means. How would the wall be for New Jerusalem? Well, New Jerusalem is a perfect square. Jerusalem is a perfect square with 12 gates surrounding it. So there are 3 gates on each side of the square. So you have to study this as science now. All right? So let's go a little further. Question 4, second degree. So you are saying we can return to being gods or rise from the fallen state? Answer, yes, but only with will the two become as one, for you must go through the marriage ceremony. The symbol put there is Islam, but the star and the moon is your peace. Is your peace. So some people want to fly that on a flag and declare that as their nationality. But that symbol is not your nationality. That symbol is your nature. That symbol symbolizes the operation of the pineal. That symbol symbolizes the marriage ceremony. The higher self and the lower self, the two becoming as one on earth as it is in heaven. So that is your peace. When those two become as one, that is your balance. That is your peace. That is your Islam. That is your nature being restored. So we learn science. So that symbol is your nature, not your nationality. It is your nature. Islam is a nature. It is your peace, your shalom. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High God, king of peace. So we have to understand why these terminologies and these words are being used. They are referring to the science. Our ancestors had a nature. They didn't have a religion. They had a nature about their connection to the creative forces, to the Netarus. And these statements became manifested into later on people's concept of religion. So we're going to decode that and unveil it so that you may look within the veil of Auset, the veil of your nature, the veil of the matter, the mother of all creation. Question 5, second degree. How do we begin this discipline? Answer: seek knowledge as though it was silver and gold. For only through divine thought will your birth be. For only through divine thought. So seek knowledge as though it was silver and gold. Remember number 5. 5 is the number of mind. This mind. So the mind must seek silver and gold. We'll come to that again too. Remember that statement. Degree of knowledge. Question 6, second degree. What would be the first stage / degree of knowledge? Answer: we speak of is knowledge of self. But just as the program of the fallen were simulated in you, we first say begin with your ABCs and 1, 2, 3. Supreme mathematics and supreme alphabet from the nation of gods and earth. This prepares the mind to come out of the flat line reading. Remember, because we're trying to re-add. Because if we can re-add, we could properly build the temple. Because we are architects. Okay. So to come out of flatline, reading and entering a dimensional study of self. This is called raising the vibration. So we start ABCs, preparing the mind to get out of that where it read and seen everything in a dead, flat line, flat state, and now see the dimensions and the science in life. So that's the first stage we do. Knowledge of self. Begin by training the mind to perceive its divine intellect. Okay, question number 7. So this is the discipline to return us? Answer: no. This is the discipline to guide you to the door of return. This is the discipline to guide you to the door of return. Like said in the Bible, St. John chapter 10, verse 1 through 7, you must come through the door, for to come any other way is a thief and a robber. Listen with it. You got to come through this door. Or you're going to be a thief and a robber. What you going to do? You're going to try to use blood to assimilate astral activity. Well, as you learn later on that every 7 bodies, meaning if you got a physical earthly nature, the physical earthly nature has 7 bodies itself. If you have an astral body, it has 7 bodies itself. So that means it's actually you're dealing with the number 49. So what I want you to understand is just that the door, the door is a science of your being. And for you to really access all of the things you wanting to do, there is ways to cut around not going through the door of yourself. And you can use certain elemental forces. And then if you go manipulating the elemental forces, an elemental force has an astral. You didn't reach up into the spiritual astral realm. You reached up into the astral realm of the physical. So I'm saying that to say that the door is yourself. But you could do blood sacrifice. You could drink blood. You could do other things to work with the elements here, manipulate them in certain forces to shoot you into certain realms and things. You robbing yourself, or you robbing something in nature to try to access and you never really gain the true entry. Let me go on. Question number 8. What is the meaning of the door? Black Messiah, second degree question. It is one of the many codex of who we are. It is the Gumar Az Dubar, the wisdom, strength, and beauty, generating, operating divineness. To understand this, we give the symbol of the door. For in this door, 2 pillars, we place a third middle pillar by putting the symbol of the tree of life, the Kabbalah, over the door, giving the hidden codex the message. So if you look at this, you have Boaz, you have Joshin. Boaz represents the kingly pillar. Joshin represents the priestly pillar. If you look at the symbol at the top, you'll see that there is a place that says there's a keystone. The keystone, you can't really see the words here, but it is Hotep, Shalom, Islam, peace, prophet, prophecy, keystone. All of these go for this one place right here. Now for Boaz, you got king, you got Malachi, and you got generate. For Joshin, you have priest, you have Zedek, you have operate. And don't let me forget the numbers. The priestly pillar, these 3 sephiras right here equal 13. The kingly pillar, these 3 sephiras here equals 16. All of this has a meaning. Every one of these have a meaning. This middle pillar equals 26. This middle pillar is the hidden pillar. It is the Amen, the hidden one. And the hidden one, Amen, is the divineness. That is your divine nature. So your divine nature, your Islam, your peace has been hidden from you, stolen from you. So you're trying to gain access to go into what we would, some people say, you see this zigzag. To my brothers who 5%, they know zigzag zig. Zigzag zig is the letter Z, which is the 26th letter of the English alphabet. So this middle pillar being 26 is the zigzag zig. Somebody tell me what the zigzag zig is. People who understand that they'll get it. But you see your zigzag zig. And this zigzag zig is called the winding stairway, going into the upper room. So to my brothers who have studied masonry and understood the winding stairway and going into the upper room. So all of this is a symbolical statement of you. So let's go here. It is one of the many codex of who we are. It is the Gumar Az Dubar. Gumar Az Dubar. G-O-D. Wisdom, strength, beauty. You got to study this. This is the language of the Sphinx. Wisdom, strength, and beauty. Y'all will get that because some of you don't know that the Sphinx is actually, I'll go to that on another topic. So generating, operating divineness. Some people like to say generate, operate, and destroy. That is our elder brother, Freeman L. But it is actually generating, I'm not saying he's wrong, because divineness will destroy as also too. But it is generating, operating divineness. Divineness is our nature. So we're trying to generate, so we start the thought process, knowledge our equality, 16, knowledge our above is below. And we start to generate, by acknowledging our equality, we generate the thought process. But as a priest, we have to operate. The priest keeps the temple. So when you get to the priestly temple, priestly pillar, it is about operation. The kingly priest, the kingly pillar is about knowledge. You coming to a knowledge of yourself. holding to that knowledge, holding to the knowledge. Why? Because the mind is the place of the throne. Remember, we said that earlier. So the throne representing the key is the mind. So you first start to 16, knowledge, generate. So when you generate, then you have to operate. So once you generate and operate, when these two pillars, generating and operate, come together, they produce the keystone, the middle pillar, which is the divineness. So it is God. They produce the God. So this is how you gain access to your God. And he has made us kings and priests unto our God. That's Revelations 5. So you would have to think, he has made us kings and priests unto our God. Didn't say to God, unto our God. So you have to go back, read the scriptures properly, and cipher them. Now I'm giving you the key so that you can do this, and you'll have these key words. When you read it again with these keys, it'll be totally different to you. So now we have the door with the pillar called Boaz, Malachi, meaning kingly, royal pillar. And another pillar called Jashin, Zedek, meaning priestly. So we have Malachi, Zedek, Melchizedek. So now you see this is the order of Melchizedek. So Melchizedek, the order of Melchizedek is the order of your eternal. Melchizedek was what? Melchizedek was he without father, without mother, without beginning or the ending of days. So now we're talking to you about your eternal self, your eternal science. Going back into your eternal self is, for even Jesus was made a high priest. Remember, only a high priest can go within the temple. So we're talking about how can you become the high priest of your temple? How can you enter into the veil of Auset, the veil of Isis? How can you enter into the veil of the material nature? You say you want to go and you want to have your third eye, true nature of yourself. So this is what we're talking about. How can you do this? Is there some keys to this? Is this a mystery that we would never know? No. There's been answers given. It's right before us. Now the two pillars meet at the keystone. So the keystone, remember, you got to erect both of the pillars. Meaning you can't just generate, just can't know it. Then you got to operate it. Then you operate in it. Then you produce the middle pillar. And now you have become a pillar in the house of my God. But see, you hear the language, but you don't know the cipher. So even when you read into the scriptures, you never understood what it was saying to you. So now this is the measure. So we're giving you the measurements of yourself, the measurements of the temple, the measurements of the heavens, the measurements of the earth. We're giving you the reed, my brother, my sister. Now this is the measure. We are the royal kings and queens by our birthright, blood. But we must operate at the temple, the body, from the idols and the unclean sacrifices. If you let unclean things come into the temple, if you read the story, violated, letting unclean things come into the temple, the idols come into the temple, they say that the Lord, the Lord, or the glory of God left, and the people of Israel were left without protection. So we're trying to give you your protection, your shield. Remember, the shield of David is the Magen David, which is the 6-point star. As above, so below. So your shield in this life is as above, so below. He is my shield and my buckler. So we're giving you your shield and your buckler. And most of the time, these are inner degrees only given. I'm going a little further for y'all today. So to generate is to apply that which you know. Oh, let me go back up. I'm sorry. Now, this is the measure. We are royal kings and queens by our birthright, which is the Boaz pillar, the kingly pillar. Malachi. But we must operate as the priest to keep the temple. The first priest of the temple of Solomon's temple, the solar man, the sun man, the light body. The first priest of the temple was Zadok. So it is Melchizedek. So the priestly pillar, but we must operate. So the priestly pillar is the operation. So we must operate as priests to keep the temple of the body from the idols and the unclean ways. So 16, King Malachi, kingdom, mind, must generate the conscious truth of the God self. 1 plus 6 equals 7. And as a priest, the Jashin, the operating, the Zedek, as a priest, the priest must operate the temple. Remember the temple, if the priest must operate the temple, the body, in this strength. Remember when you study Boaz and Jashin, it is in this strength, in my strength. I was given strength. So you got to understand these words. Must operate the temple, the body, in this strength, producing divineness. The 26, the Amen, the Amen Ra, the hidden light, the hidden peace, your hidden nature. And remember, I saw an angel fall from heaven to earth. So to generate is to apply that which you know. To generate is to apply that which you know, which is wisdom, Boaz, and strength is in operating as the priest, the Jashin, producing the beauty, the divineness. Wisdom, strength, beauty. Guma, Oz, Duba, G-O-D. The door of life eternal. Now there's so much more in that question and in that degree. But that's a quick build. Let me go to question number 9. Question number 9, second degree Black Messiah. So is this Christian science you give for the door? Answer, yes and no. 2 pillars is an ancient Comedian science, and the orders of ancient Afura, Africa, all consisted of kingly priests. Orders in Africa, the ancient ones, even when you study the kings in the when you study Aksum and you see the obsoletes what everyone speaks about for Egypt, and Rome took them, and all of the obsoletes, they speak of King of Kings, but these kings were kings and priests. When you study of the priest of Amen Ra, you find out that every one of the priests of and being in a priest of Amen Ra is becoming. That's why in Kemet you would see the Uraeus on the crown. For you to get the Uraeus, the serpent on the crown, meant that you weren't just royal, you were also initiated in the priesthood. In Rastafari, this becomes very big for us because His Majesty represents that ancient truth. Those who have studied and learned that His Imperial Majesty also spoke Ge'ez. He dealt with Ge'ez. He spoke Ge'ez. Ge'ez is the language of the priest. So His Majesty was initiated in the priesthood. So He is actually king and priest. And He has made us kings and priests unto our God. Our God, the God within. The Christ, the divine nature. The Netaruz, the angelical truth of our nature. The 144. But the code, answer, but the code of wisdom, strength, and beauty is a science of the Sphinx. Wisdom, strength, and beauty is the science of the Sphinx. I want y'all to do research and figure out how that statement is being made. It will amaze you. It is the wisdom of the caterpillar to eat right knowledge and the strength to separate itself in a cocoon, and its beauty when it rises as a butterfly. The key to this is the laws of Ma'at. The 42 laws of Ma'at provide your being with the balance to enter the door. So, Messiah, generate your mind in wisdom of Ma'at. Watch her beauty come forth in your life. So this is Christ's self-science that came from the ancient Christianity. Black Messiah's second degree has 9 questions. Second degree, number 2, is wisdom, representing the feminine. Feminine process, you have a born process, which is 9, born. Our story, the first degree, had 49 questions and answers. 4 plus 9 is a 13. It is master. So it was to teach us to become masters again, to have the knowledge of the master. A master is one who knows from whence he came. So, with a little bit more time, I said I would do the third degree, Black Messiah's third degree. Third degree is God, the 7 bodies, the 7 chakras, the 2 pillars, 1, 2, and 6. So you just heard all of this language. So now here comes the third degree to take you a little farther in it. In the second degree, we began the disciplines. So the second degree was discipline. Right, second degree is disciplines. Remember, the feminine is the physical nature, so you have to understand this has to be disciplines. The disciplines is the disciples. On the second degree, we began the disciplines to get to the door. So we get into the door. We were instructed to operate divineness. G-O-D. That's G-O-D. Matter of fact, let me do this now. G is the 7th letter. O is what? The 15th letter. And D is the 4th letter. G-O-D. 7, 15, 4 equals 26. So we're going to keep having a repetition of this 26. Can you explain or give more light? Answer. The kingdom of heaven was taken by force. Has stated this for years. But what does this mean? Did God lose his kingdom? And what kind of force was used to do this? Now, if heaven is on earth, we know the force used to attack the keepers of the way, the door, was violence. And the flood of ignorance over knowledge of self. Then after being invaded, the way of life was destroyed and another ruling party took over. So the kingdom of heaven, Anuki, was taken by force, and the gods fell from power. Power is what? 5, which is mind. So gods fell from power, and I saw an angel fall from heaven to earth. This is the fallen angels, the gods. They are light bearers, Luciferians, keepers of the door. Question number 2, third degree. Question number 2, third degree. How are the Luciferians the keepers of the door? Oh man, Laz done messed up. I was all riding with him. I was good with him. I ain't no Luciferian. I ain't no devil worshiper. Oh no. Laz done told us to worship the devil. And he done told us we Luciferians. He trying to lead us to the devil. Now you flatline. You reading the word without the dimensions. You reading it in a dead state. My God is the God of the living, not the God of the dead. How are the Luciferians the keepers of the door? Answer. When the fallen ones, now you had to hear the last week's build on our story. The fallen ones were those that got caught in the meteorite shower and went through a mutation, became the caveman, the Neanderthal. And that's how we came through this development. They were genetically mutated, so they're genetically deficient in certain matters. And this is how the races was created. So when the fallen ones who were coming out of the caves with this lower mentality had taken over, they destroyed the way of life, meaning there was groups of people who had a divine connection with nature and God and the universe, and they were operating in this. And then these invaders came out of the caves, savages, and they brought war. And then those people who had all of these divine ways, they had to spend the next thousands of years fighting constant wars. And in that process, they lost some wars. And when they lost some wars, the ones that were the coming out of the caves, they went to ruling the way people think for hundreds of years. And so those who once had this divine knowledge, they lost the knowledge. And so they were light bearers. They were the keepers of the light. You know, you read in the scripture, say, Jesus said, I'm the light of this world. So there, just as I am, so shall you be. So there were many light bearers, lights of this world. And somehow through the attack, the light bearers fell from the knowledge of their self. So when there's no light, you're in darkness. And in the time of darkness, my people will reject the light. What you talking about, Laz? Listen what the scripture's telling you. Listen what the scripture's telling you. So when the fallen ones had taken over, they destroyed the ways of life. The keepers of the door. Remember, you the door, you the two pillars. You the Boaz, the Joshin, you the Melchizedek. You the eternal doorway. So when the fallen ones had taken over, they destroyed the ways of life. They destroyed the ways of life. So the people who were the keepers of the door, and then anything that was knowledge to restore the keepers of the door, to restore their awakening from the enemy's attack, that people made that evil. Why? Because the things that we would use our nature was our divine throne. Our nature was what made us gods on earth. Our nature is what defined us as the ruling party. So if you talk about your nature and somebody has a deficient nature and they want to be the ruling, they have to remove your nature as the discussion within any divine scripture, because that would make them illegitimately uneligible for the throne of God. But they want the throne. So they then start to make the scholars and the priests and everyone start to write everything in reverse. in reverse, but right in the coded way right in front of you. When you first study the scripture, you'll find out in the book of Isaiah there never was a word that said Lucifer. That was later on put in modern times. The term that was there was talking about a king in Akkadian in Babylon, and the kingdom had got overthrown, run over by savage waves. So you have to learn the history of the scripture and learn what's being sold and why did they put that terminology there? What happened at that time period? Because in the end, this same area becomes the Church of Sophia, the Turkey area, and all of this. So something happened here. But if you don't really know the history, then you get flatlined. You can't break the veils of the code of the history. Let's go a little further. So when the fallen ones are taken over and destroyed the ways of the life of the door of the people who are the keepers of the door. So God is the light bearer. So think, in the beginning, God said, let there be light, and there is. So God is the light bearer. Now the key to this is the 7 bodies, the 7 chakras, the 7th heaven in Islam. Remember, the Prophet Muhammad didn't go to the first heaven. Study the scripture. They say the Prophet Muhammad ascended to the 7th heaven. Why he had to go to 7? Why? What the world is? I'm trying to get to the first heaven. So I got to still try to get to 7 heavens. So somebody should have asked the question, damn. So we die, I got to go through 7 heavens? Or will I go to the first heaven, third? What ticket? How I know what ticket I got? What? Hey, I'm going to first or second or third. What go on in first? Is it regular? Can I get to the VIP section? Is that the 7th heaven? Nobody asks the question. So God is the light bearer. The 7th heaven in Islam is the mountain of Hira, the mountain of light. Hira, the mountain of light, spirit. The 7th body of man is spirit. When you get deep into the temple buildings, you'll see us say Solar Man or Rahman, right? That's your Solomon. And that's going to be a code here. And the 7th chakra is called the crown chakra of light. So to make sure man did not return to his way to the measure, which your measure is a ruler, you use a ruler to measure to his 18. The light bearers were made the devil. But they are the devil to those who have taken the kingdom of heaven by force. But they are the devil to those who have taken the kingdom of heaven by force. For their return would mean the end of their rulership. Oh, slave driver, the tables have turned. We got your fire, so you're gonna get burned. Yes, I am. So Lucifer and the fallen angel definitions are not evil. They are the keepers of the way who lost the earth, the kingdom, to the fallen ones. Woo! That's a lot there. Let's go a little further. Almost done, y'all. Black Messiah's 3rd degree, question number 3. Remember, 3 is always a number for understanding. 3 is also the star, the child. So how does this Lucifer go with God and the door? Answer: signs and symbols for the conscious. God equals 26. For G is 7, O is 15, D is 4, equaling 26. Now on the door, the middle pillar, Amen, has the value of 26. Let me just show you that right quick. And we'll come back to right here. Amen, 26, divineness. So this is the middle pillar. Remember, the middle pillar is here. So this is 10, 9, 6, 10. 19 plus 6, 25 plus 1, 26. So this is 26. This is very important. You know, this middle pillar has the mathematics of 26. All right. So the door, now on the door, the middle pillar, Amen, has the value of 26. This middle pillar is symbolic of the spinal cord, the 26 vertebrae, in which the 7 chakras, Kundalini forces, rises up to the crown chakra, making the man and the woman light bearers. Now, there's a lot to that. That's a kind of short answer, but it's not short as you would think, because when you go through those words, science, there's a lot more to it. Question number 4, Black Messiah's third degree. This light. Answer. God said, let there be light. The word was given. The word became flesh. Word is a vibration. The vibration must become your flesh. To change something, you must change the vibration. To change the vibration, you must change your mind. Your mind believes the ways of the fallen ones is needed to survive. I just made a post this morning for this. Your mind believes the ways of the fallen ones is needed to survive. Oh, I can't stop eating meat, but I'll die. Well, it's not really, that's a defense for you in this time, to protect the temple, to keep the temple as a priest, to make sure unclean things and idols don't enter into the temple. You putting your defense up. You putting your shield up. You understand that your frequency is light. You understand certain things make you vibrate at a low frequency, so you're going to eat according to your frequency and your vibrations. Now you operating as a priest. You raising your pillar, because you raise your first pillar by acknowledging your divine self. You acknowledge your equality, your as above, so below. But now you must acknowledge your temple, your vibration, your thought processes. Here in the 4, in the material plane, in the physical world. To change the vibration, you must change your mind. Your mind believes the ways of the fallen ones is needed to survive. The way you think is a vibration, and it must be disciplined. The way you eat is a vibration, and it must be disciplined. The way you live is a vibration, and it must be changed. A fleshly carnal mind must be changed, and a fleshly way of eating must be changed to a vegan way. The daily meditation and Kemetic yoga science must be mastered to raise the chakra. This generating and operating to produce divineness, G-O-D. In Hebrew, the word Yahweh, tetragrammaton, equals 26. For Yod is 10, He is 5, plus Va, which is 6, plus He, which is 5, equals 26. Yah, He, Va, He, 26, which is the number of the middle pillar, also called the path of the Messiah. So this is a Messiah. This is a Messiah study. This is the path of the Messiah. So when the Shin, the fire, the 30, well, you who study Hebrew, I want you to understand it, because you're trying to get to your Christ. You're trying to uphold your honoring of he who gave his life for you. Oh yes, your Christ self gave, your Christ came and you. Oh yes, your Christ did. And unless the Son of Man is raised as the serpent was in the wilderness, so your Son of Man must be raised up just as the serpent was raised up in the wilderness. So we said the serpent is the kundalini. You say to Christ, the Son, the fire. My God is an all-consuming fire. So we talking about something. So in Kemetic yoga, science must be mastered to raise the chakra. This generating and operating to produce divineness. This generating, the thought process, generating, my mind starts to generate this process, and then my body starts to operate in it, and then I produce light, kundalini, fire, produce my divineness, my nature. So I generate, then I operate, and I produce my nature. G-O-D. Now I could say I'm God. Peace, God. Peace, Goddess. But if I ain't generating or operating, and I ain't produced my nature, I might just need to say I'm trying to get to God. I mean, I possess this nature, but I'm falling right now. I'm a light bearer who fall. I'm a Luciferian. In Hebrew, the word Yah-Hevahe, the tetragrammaton, for Yah is 10, He is 5, Vah is 6, He is 5, which equals 26, which is the number of the middle pillar, the path of the Messiah. So when the Shin, the fire, rises in the name of the Father, it is the saying, I come in my Father's name. What comes in my Father's name? Well, your Father's name is Yah-He-Vah-He. Okay? But Yah-He-Vah-He is the 26. So this is Yah-He-Vah-He. But you got to come in your Father's name. So you got to travel in your Father's name. So you will know me because I will come in my Father's name. I will come in my Father's. I'm coming in this path. If I ain't coming in this path, then you know I ain't coming, my Father. You know I ain't the Son of God. But if I come in this path, if I travel this middle pillar, if I'm rising in this middle, but what rises in this middle pillar? That middle pillar, what rises? You call this your kundalini. This would be the middle pillar, your kundalini. This would be your spine. But that means the kundalini is the fire, the shin, the fire, the shin rises up the middle pillar. Let's go a little further. So the shin, take it all the way up. We can do it like this. So you see it says spinal cord 26. So the middle pillar is the 26. So in your spinal cord here, you see that you have the shin, which the letter shin is the Hebrew letter shin. If you've ever seen the GDs throw up their little pitchfork, that's the shin. That's the shin, the fire, 30. It rises in the name of the Father. So when Shin rises in this name, right? Because remember, this name is the name of God. I come in my Father. Is in the 26. It becomes Yah, He, Shin. See, this is the Shin right here. S-H-H. And then you have Vahe. Yah, He, Shin, Vahe. Yahshua. So this is your Yahshua. But Yahshua is an archetype of science. Now you could flatline it. But remember, our ancestors gave names based on the principle of nature in which you operate in. So an individual took on this name was meaning that they operated in this nature and in this science. And so be a redeemer. So you were given this name or this name, but it's not really a name. It's an archetype here. It's a science. So when the Shin is placed in Yahvahe, it represents the Kundalini energy traveling up your spinal cord, traveling in the Father's name. And when the Kundalini energy rises up to the crown, it makes you the Christ. It makes it come to the crown chakra. So then the light bearer is the morning star, the Christ. All right. Is there another discipline? Question number 5, third degree. Is there another discipline needed? Yes. He who knows one book knows none. Continuous study is required in the unveiling of the knowledge of self. So study self. You must become a decoder. Remember, as within, so without. So as you decode the scriptures, decode these things, you begin unlocking the ceilings placed on you by the fallen ones, and that which is been placed on your bloodline. For you will change even the very frequency of the crystallization in your blood, freeing genetical information for every generation to follow you. This is black, not meaning race, but the black dot, the black heights. And this symbol represents the lion, the conquering lion, serpentine kundalini energy, and that our foundation, even though it is earth, has always been the eternal mother. For as above, so below. An atom is energy that can neither be destroyed nor created, making the physical plane also the spiritual plane. The two pillars, the Boaz, the Joshin. The 16 and the 13 is a 29, plus the 26 is a 55. All right. So in closing, I will read a little statement here and I will close out. Thank you for doing the degrees. The next recording that we will do will be beginning of temple building, and we will touch back into the degrees as we go through certain things in temple building. Black Messiahs Incorporated is a spiritual association and trust which operates several businesses, enterprise, and a cultural temple to resurrect, empower the indigenous culture, and create a viable cultural movement and educational system to bring solutions to social, spiritual, and physical ills that affect the black, the African, indigenous communities and nations, our people. The organizing structure, Black Messiahs Incorporated, or maybe Black Messiahs, or maybe BM Incorporated, will all be forms of the corporate name, even the 213 clothesline. Purpose, as stated in the above, the mission statement as held in the Constitution of Black Messiahs Incorporated is a spiritual association, a benevolent society, which shall operate several businesses, enterprises to resurrect, re-empower the indigenous culture, and create a viable cultural movement solutions to the social, spiritual, and physical ills that affect the black, the African, indigenous communities and nations. These solutions will bring solutions to all the world's problems, not just our people. This is why it is this corporation's mission to create foremost cultural temples under the ancient African indigenous and raise the sovereign liberation of the African nation of the diaspora. Black Messiahs, we have a pretty intricate outline developed. This is our Constitution, and I will close after reading a little part in our Constitution. Black Messiah's Constitution, mission. Black Messiahs is a spiritual association and trust which operates several businesses, enterprise, and a cultural temple to resurrect, re-empower the indigenous culture, and create a viable cultural movement and educational system to bring solutions to the social, spiritual, physical ills that affect our people. Our preamble, we, the Black Messiahs, an indigenous and sovereign international spiritual society, asserting our natural, aboriginal, indigenous right in hereby establish an international spiritual indigenous benevolent society for the unifying movement of resurrecting spirituality as a cultural way of life in the indigenous communities. Black Messiahs do not support one religion over another, but they seek to unify all under their spiritual cosmology as prescribed by the laws of our ancestors, which is the universal natural law based on the ancient principles of cosmology, the laws of nature, and the laws of absolute character in the universe. National status. All Black Messiahs are indigenous Aboriginal people, and official national by birthright bloodline. Those who have done official acceptance, those who have not, for their birthright is inalienable. Many are officially registered through the organization's works of ISIS, International Sovereign Indigenous Society, EWF, Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated, UNIA, the United Negro Improvement Association, ACL, under Marcus Garvey, and the African Nation of the Diaspora. Descriptions of the Divine Council. So Black Messiahs has a Divine Council. The Divine Council consists of 7 bodies. The 7 bodies: the Prime Minister, the Assistant Prime Minister, Minister of Defense, Justice, Minister of Wealth, Economics, Minister of Education, Arts/Culture, Minister of Health and Science, which shall operate in a governmental capacity and shall be consistent as a corporate body in all dealings with the enterprises for Black Messiahs. The capacity of operational functions of the Divine Council is outlined in AND, the African Nation of the Diaspora Charter. The micro and macro settings of the Council and the Divine Councils represent all other smaller missions as defined in AND, the African Nation of the Diaspora. Descriptions of the Grand Divine Council. The Grand Divine Council are the officials of the temple, the Master Artificer, the Grand Alchemist, the Scribe, the Financial Scribe, the Treasurer, the Minister of Health, the Minister of Wealth, Minister of Order, which shall operate as the Board of Directors in the Judicial House or the Juror House. This Board of Directors is in order of degrees and a majority vote of the temple members. Note, each Grand Council member has an assistant. And I'm not going to go no further in this. I just wanted to read that to place on record, the charter and the constitutions of Black Messiahs, and some of the things that build out from our bylaws. And we went through the degrees. I hope many of you will go back and read the degrees. We will keep building further. Next week we will have a Zoom in which we will do a live discussion with question and answers. And we will have what's called Ask the Questions of Your Life, And we will try to build and solve and take away the mysteries to free the minds from the deceptions that have been plaguing us, or the miseducation that has been plaguing us. So divine love, I can only say that I hope that these seeds are falling on protected and nurtured grounds, and that the divine ancestors and the divine netarus and the forces, all of nature is working for you, so they are protecting you. Accept their blessings as they guide you to honor your temple and to move in your direction to gain the truth of your life. Honor it as you hear the echoes in nature. Just know that creation is moving for you.
Centralized come center in your fool. Centralized centrifugal in your lion sons and daughters. Our modernize are thinking when I change back medallion. How to fit into the scheme of things. Instead of stop back they asking for things. Hey, who them representing? I must how great them are. We be so pompous and unforgiving. Jackie we name our own living.
Open your heart. Your heart is the fire. Key. How do you light the fire?
To survive the things man do and did.
Open your heart.
That's surely
The heart is the Dallas, the doorway. I am that I am. I am love. I am life. I am light. I am liberation. I am that I am. I am love. I am life. I am light. I am liberation. I am that I am. Peace, love, divine blessing.